Hello guys, I am back and today we're gonna be talking about Hero of Remnant. So yeah, let us begin ladies and gents. So we currently see our boy Izuku as he's currently, partying it up with the rest of his classmates. And also some of the students from the other, academies. As while he was doing so, he would notice that Ruby would go somewhere, as he would ask, "Hey, Ruby, where are you going?" And she would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm not really interested in doing this party stuff. I'm probably just gonna go back to the dorm, okay?" As Izuku would say, "Oh, okay. Just be careful then." And she would say, "Oh, okay then." She would say with the, somewhat like, cute tone, I guess you could say. Wait for a second. So, after saying goodbye to Ruby after she decided to just go back to the dorm, Izuku would start going around talking to some people, mostly from other students. While he was doing so, he would be approached by one girl, being that of Cinder. As Cinder would say, "Ah, it's been a while," she would say, as Izuku would look over and would see Cinder, as he would say, "Oh, nice to see you again." As she would say, my, you seem that you've forgotten my name." "The name's Cinder, Cinder Fall," she would say. She would be wearing a dark red dress with accents of dark, dark, I think dark gold or bronze, with touches of black. As Izuku would shake hands with her, as she would say, "So, I've been wondering," she would say, as she would just, would be walking around him, as she would say, "You're after all the son of the great Ironwood, but at the same time, you do not have his prejudice personality," she would say. As after saying that, Izuku would look at her with a weird face as he would say, "What is that supposed to mean?" She would say, "Oh, nothing. It's just that after learning about a few things about him, like for example, the mistreatments that he did during in the Faunus, the mistreatment that he does to the Faunus race has been questionable at least," she would say. As after Izuku hears that, he would say, "Well, my father, he's been trying to mend that for a while now. And besides, you you don't really need to say things like that in front of me." As she would say, "Oh, you must have misunderstood. I just wanted to ask you, Izuku," she would say. As she would basically grab him by the tie, as she would basically move him out of the way, somewhere secluded. As she would say, "Well, after seeing your abilities last time, I've been wondering, how do you have these abilities in the first place? Your semblance is quite interesting. You call them the Ten Commandments. Quite interesting." As after saying that, Izuku would just say, "Well, I don't honestly know. I was just, one day I was just like, confused, and then that happened," he would lie. As one of them would say, specifically our boy Galand. And if you're wondering, no, it would not defy his commandment. Because what I said in the first, or I think second or third episode of this series, that I specifically said he can, when he has all of the commandments, or not use it, that he literally has in his possession, or should I say, that he's not using right now, it doesn't mean that he's, essentially like, defying his commandment, being that of truth. And it doesn't count as literally, not trying to, not trying to be his commandment. Like, for example, during in the anime, I specifically remember Galand saying that he will not back down on a fight. And when he fought Escanor, he decided to run away, essentially meaning he, essentially doesn't want to, use his commandment anymore, and because of that, it caused him to basically go, yeah. And that's how he became Stone. It's essentially in that vein, because he has all of the commandments at his disposal, it cancels out the other commandments. Like, for example, if he were to, be unfaithful, it would not work on him specifically. So it doesn't mean that he's going to, die by one of his commandments that he's defiling or whatever you want to call it. But either way, as Galan would say, nice save there. Wait a minute. Why did he not as after say but before he can say anything else, one of them would say, just don't question it, said our boy over here, aka Estarosa, as he would say, just ignore it. Either way, it's quite interesting seeing the guy talking to this girl. Though, I feel something strange about her, he would say. I almost forgot to add this bit, but at the time of this recording, or at least at the time of this recording, I guess you could say, I did find out that apparently Estarosa is Mael, aka a former, Goddess Clan member. What the fuck? So I'm probably going to do something with it in the future of this what if, but probably never for now. I'm still working on that for the story. So anyway, continuing on. As we go back to where Izuku and Cinder are, as Cinder would say this, I was just interested in your abilities. The ability to immobilize enemies, to make them weak in your presence if they have hatred in their hearts for them. Oh, it's quite the interesting ability, she would say. As she would basically lip off it, or at least grab him by the chin, and would basically start, leaning towards him, like almost like, their faces are super close to each other. As she would say, I'm quite interested in that, she would say. As after saying that, Izuku would just say, can you please stop getting closer? He would say it's a bit awkward. As she would say, aw, is Mr. Ironwood over here afraid? She would say. As after saying that, Izuku would say, no, as he would start stuttering a little bit, as she would laugh a little bit, as she would say, don't worry, it was just a joke. Besides, I was just curious, she would say. Now, you can probably just leave or whatever. I have nothing more to say to you. But, if we ever do meet again, I hope you're ready, she would say. As after that, she would start leaving, swaying her hips while doing so, which caused Izuku to, blush a little bit. As after doing so, Izuku would start leaving to go back to where his group is. But before, but before, Cinder would leave, she would look back at Izuku, as she would say, oh, but don't worry, you'll be spared during the destruction of Beacon. I made sure that that our mistress will allow me to have you all to myself. She would say, laughing a little bit on the inside. As we go back to Izuku, as Izuku would continue on the night, while the night was still going on, the scene of Jean, or more specifically Jean, and the whole dare thing. Yeah, he would be wearing the dress. As when Izuku's drinking it out some punch, and seeing Jean wearing a dress, he would spit it out, and he would say, what the as you would to start like laughing a little bit on the while doing so, and some of his teammates would also laugh, as one of them being that of our girl. Specifically, Yang would say, "Oh my fucking god!" As she would start laughing as well, together with Blake and Weiss. As Weiss would laugh a little bit as well, but she would keep it silent. As as for Blake, Blake would also laugh, but not as much as Yang and Izuku. As both, you know, as what is it? As Jean and Pyra would decide to do the dance, being that of the dancer in the in the show where they basically do like a whole dance routine with with the help of Nora and Ren. As while they were doing so, they would not notice that Cinder would start leaving, going somewhere else. So, after that, we would go to another perspective. So, we currently go into a different perspective, being that of our beloved ice cream girl, Neo. Or at least my beloved ice cream girl. Because she's sort of my favorite, mostly because of her design, and when I first heard of RWBY, this is how I... This. Right next to to the fanfiction I saw on Wattpad. So, as we currently see her walking around the entire the warehouse that her and Roman basically own for now, as she's currently directing the White Fang using her notepad because mute. But as for Roman himself, Roman has been brought somewhere else for now, as she's currently being the director for this. As while she was directing all of the White Fang members to do this and that, she would also be met with another White Fang member. As the White Fang member would say, boss, what are we supposed to do exactly? As she would just write down on her notepad, as she would show it to him, saying, you just do whatever you want to do. For now, just to get all of the dust ready, because tomorrow we're taking our revenge, especially towards Big Brother. In this AU, I'm going to be making, Roman sort of a Big Brother figure towards Neo, in a way. So, after writing that down and showing it to him, he would say, right boss, as after doing so, he would leave. But currently in the background, you would see another person. The person would not show his face, but prominently he would have horns, as he would say to himself, this is the retribution that Aspanis are going to make to you. He would say, as he unsheathed his sword. As after doing so, it would be revealed to be some sort of katana. As he would do some Iaido type moves, basically practicing. As while he was doing so, he would say this to himself, Blake, you have fallen so far. He would say that to himself, but soon, we'll make our dreams come true. Or at least, my dreams. And so, we would go to, we would go back to our girl, Neo, as Neo would basically, go around looking at everything. But, more importantly, she would look at a picture, specifically that of Izuku Ironwood, as she would be crying, as she would think to herself, I'm gonna love crushing you. She'd say that to herself. And so, this is where we're gonna be ending off this episode. So yeah, I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.